All right, let's get right into it. There's this growing buzz around people taking massive doses of creatine, and believe me, it's not just for building bigger muscles anymore. They're trying to unlock a serious brain boost.
And when I say massive, I'm not kidding. We're talking 20, sometimes 30 grams a day. That's up to 6 times what most people take. So what's the deal? Why on earth are people flooding their bodies with this much creatine, all for the promise of a cognitive edge?
So here's our game plan. We'll start with why this is even a thing. Then we'll get into the actual science of it. After that, we'll walk through a full 8-week timeline, talk about what to do after that period, and wrap up with a super important health warning you definitely need to hear. Okay, so let's set the stage. The entire idea behind taking these huge doses, it all comes down to a really basic principle of how our bodies handle energy. And that brings us to the science of creatine and a little molecule called ATP. You can think of ATP as, quite literally, your body's energy currency. Seriously, every single thing you do, from lifting a weight to thinking a thought, costs ATP. Your cells are constantly spending it. And creatine? Well, think of creatine as the ultimate backup battery, instantly recharging that ATP so your cells can get right back to work. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. A whopping 95% of all the creatine in your body is stored in your muscles. Only a tiny 5% is up in your brain. But don't let that small number fool you. Your brain is an absolute energy hog, burning through 20% of your body's total energy every single day. So here's the catch. Your muscles, they're kind of greedy. When you take a normal standard dose of creatine, your muscles get first dibs. They soak it all up, leaving very little, if any, to get past that protective barrier around your brain. And that is the whole theory behind megadosing in a nutshell. The goal is to completely flood your system, to saturate your muscles so much that you create a massive surplus, an overflow that has nowhere else to go but across that barrier and into your brain.
Okay, so that's the science. But what does this actually feel like? Let's walk through what you can expect on an 8-week creatine megadosing journey.
The effects kick in way faster than you might think, starting with the brain. Then, over the next few weeks, the body and mind both ramp up until they hit a peak. Let's break it down piece by piece. So, get this, the brain benefits start showing up almost immediately. A study done on people who were sleep-deprived showed that just 3 hours after taking a big dose, their brain metabolism was already changing. By the 4th hour, their cognitive performance hit its peak, and that feeling lasted for up to 9 hours. We're not talking about a jittery caffeine high either. This was described as a smooth, sustained mental energy. Now, during that first week, your muscles take center stage. You'll probably see the number on the scale jump up a couple of pounds. But don't sweat it, this isn't fat or bloating. It's actually water getting pulled inside your muscle cells, which makes them look fuller and feel firmer. By day 7, your muscles' creatine stores have already shot up by 20%. Hey, a quick but really important tip here. Trying to down 20 or 30 grams of creatine all in one go can be a bit rough on your stomach. The easy fix? Just split it up into a few smaller doses throughout the day. It's much more comfortable, and you'll still get that system flooding effect. All right, moving into weeks 2 through 4. Now that your muscles are loaded up, your brain finally starts to see its creatine levels climb in a big way. This is where you might start to notice that afternoon brain fog just isn't there anymore. Or maybe you find it's way easier to stay focused during a long meeting. Your brain cells literally have more fuel to fire faster and bounce back quicker. And you know, this isn't just a subjective feeling. We can actually measure it. One study looked at older adults who took 20 grams a day for 8 weeks, and they found an 11% increase in total brain creatine. That's a real measurable change happening inside your head. Now we've arrived at the peak. Somewhere between week 4 and week 6, both your brain and your muscles are totally saturated. The effects are pretty amazing. Research has even shown that after 36 straight hours of no sleep, people at this stage still performed better on complex tasks. That's some serious mental resilience. So you've hit peak performance. Awesome, but it begs the question, right? Do you have to keep taking 20 grams of this stuff every day for the rest of your life? Well, that brings us to the maintenance strategy. And the answer is no. See, after about 6 weeks, your body pretty much hits a natural ceiling. Your cells are like fully soaked sponges. They just can't hold any more creatine. Anything extra you take at this point is just going to be filtered out. So taking more offers very little extra benefit. This basically leaves you with two main ways to go about it. You can do the loading phase, that's the 20 grams a day for a week to get results fast, and then you drop down to a 5-gram maintenance dose. Or you can just skip the loading and take 5 grams a day from the start. It's a bit slower, but it's simpler, and you'll get to the exact same place in about a month. Okay, before we wrap up, I have one last piece of information for you. And honestly, this is absolutely critical, especially if you get regular blood work. So here's the deal. Taking high doses of creatine will raise the levels of a waste product in your blood called creatine. Now, the problem, as this quote explains, is that when most doctors see high creatine levels, alarm bells for kidney problems start going off in their heads, even if your kidneys are perfectly fine. So the takeaway here could not be simpler, but it is so important. If you are taking creatine, you absolutely have to tell your doctor before you get any blood test done. It's a simple conversation that can prevent a whole lot of confusion and unnecessary worry. And that really brings us to our final conclusion. While the high-dose loading phase is an option to get there faster, for long-term, sustainable brain and muscle health, the science really points to a consistent 5 grams a day as being the sweet spot. Which kind of leaves us with this one big, thought-provoking question to chew on. In a world where we're all trying to live longer and healthier lives, could deliberately fueling our brain's most basic energy supply be the next great frontier in how we think about healthy aging?